We gonna pick a distro now or later?
Ooh, we should probably pick it now, right? Distro. Let me hold on. I'm gonna close down all these chats.
You gonna spin the wheel or?
Do we have a wheel? We should
don't
probably have a wheel. Yeah. Well, it can't be Arch based and it can't be Ubuntu based.
All right, fair.
But it definitely can't be Debian either. We've done all the top ones. We've done MX, we've done Endeavour, we've done Mint, we've done Manjaro, we've done Pop, we've done Ubuntu, we've done Fedora. We haven't done Debian, but no. We've done Garuda, we've done Zorin, we've done OpenSUSE, we haven't done Linux Lite, but it's Ubuntu based, so
Right.
I want to do Elementary again, but KDE Neon.
We
have done, right?
We did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is it time? Is it time to do Kali? Can we? Because they've gone rootless. They're not. They don't log in as root by default now. So it's a little more user friendly, user focused, user something. Coming up in this episode, is Endeavour Arch? The history of Endeavour. We belly up to the Saloon, and RMRF is so forever. Hello, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 4 of Linux User Space. I'm Leo.
And I'm Dan.
So, Dan, in the teaser, I asked a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is Endeavour Arch? Now, obviously, Endeavour is an Arch derivative, but I guess what I'm really getting at is if you run Endeavour on your laptop, can you say, I run Arch? With no qualifiers whatsoever. Just, I run Arch.
Oh, by the way, I don't think so.
Oh. Why not? Why do you think?
So, I feel like you've missed the boat on some of what keeps Arch super simple. And that is building it up from almost nothing. You took a little shortcut to get there, and by doing that, it's not building it. You're not building it. It's not the same. So it does some of those things for you without you knowing about it, and that's supposed to be part of the Arch experience, is that you know exactly what goes into your system and you do it all right from the start.
I see. Well, I disagree. I think running Endeavour is outside of obviously what you were talking about, right? Like you did not build it up. You didn't install BlueZ yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But once you get Arch installed, you never, ever do that again. Well, if you're
right.
good at Arch, right? Like if you're good, if you know what you're doing and all of this, you would never set it up like that again. You would have time shift involved, or you would be taking system images. So you probably wouldn't never do that again. Or even if you did, you had scripts that you wrote that would get you to that point again.
Yeah, you take, your configuration files and, copy them and add them back, and then, you're right back to where you started or left off.
Right.
So I get you there. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that some of that experience though is what makes Arch.
Well, I mean, if you look back a few episodes, I mean, right. So we went through the muck.
We did. We absolutely did.
We trudged through it all.
Mm-hmm.
And then for this episode, we were running Endeavour for an entire month. So
we did. Yeah.
So maybe cobbling it together yourself one time, getting through that,
mm-hmm.
and then running Endeavour forever.
Yeah.
Does that count?
Yeah. I'm going to say that Endeavour, not to give too much away for the rest of the episode, but Endeavour might be one of the closest that you can get to,
right,
and still be close to pure Arch.
Yeah, and that's the exact catalyst for this question.
Yeah.
Because, once we start getting to how Arch went, you run the risk of just describing how Arch behaves.
Right.
So it's a tightrope you walk when you try to describe what Endeavour is versus what Arch is without conflating the two.
Right.
And there's a sliver right in the middle that's exactly that. But outside of that, it's just Arch. So
yeah.
So to kind of finish up the point that I was making before, which is 99% of the time that you are running Arch, you're not installing it. And Endeavour gives you that 1% head start. And then for the 99% of the time, you're still having to Pacman SYU or Yay this and that.
Oh, and you need to keep your mirrors up to date, and your keys and all of that stuff, right? You still need to curate it, just like you do Arch. I'll agree with that. You don't get as many helper tools as you do in some of the other distros that we've reviewed, like Arco and Garuda. True. They come with a lot of things loaded up to keep you doing the system administration. I think that Endeavour doesn't do any of that. It is much more pure, and it's a lot more left on you.
Right, and I think I would fall into your boat of it's not really. I mean, it's not really Arch. Obviously you're running on an Arch base, but there is no self-maintenance in something like Garuda. Sure, you still have to push the buttons and things like that every now and then, but easy mode Arch, right? It's still Arch, but it's easy mode Arch.
Yep.
And it's way easier to say, well, you just really run Garuda. But Endeavour is just so close.
It is close.
There's so much about Endeavour that is really just Arch that I feel pretty comfortable saying, if you run one, you run the other. If you're running Endeavour, you're pretty much as vanilla as you get. But, Garuda's out here coming with these amazingly cool and fancy KDE, configurations and things. So it is far and away not what Arch ships.
Right.
But, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough question to answer, I think.
It is a tough question, and I'm still going to say that no, you're not running Arch.
That's okay. I'll stay on the other side of the fence from you.
There are a couple of tools they give you, so it is maybe it's just enough to set it aside and make it a little bit different. Sure, the branding is a little bit different too. Like that, well, that's a thing. Like,
sure.
That's part of Arch is they give you like very little branding. It's just whatever the desktop environment you chose. You get the defaults of those. You don't get, you don't get Arch wallpaper per se, although you can go get that. But you have to do that on your own.
Yeah.
So
and I think Endeavour's pretty close to that. They give you a wallpaper though. So and the new wallpaper is amazing.
Those
Artemis
things are
Neo,
really cool.
I like it. I didn't even change it. Normally, the first thing I do when I'd start getting settled in, one of the first things I do is I change the wallpaper, and I didn't do that.
You didn't need to. No, it was nice, and the colors were good. It made me feel nice. I liked it a lot.
Yep. And so, in honor of the episode, I've got
your NASA shirt, nice.
Right? I've got my NASA penguin back here,
nice.
Right? You can't get any more space Linux than a penguin in a NASA suit, right? In an astronaut suit, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I came ready for this episode.
Totally, I agree. Nice.
All right, so we'll not agree.
We'll not agree.
Yeah, but I think it's an interesting question to ask regardless. So I guess really, what do you think? What do you think, listener? Is Endeavour close enough to Arch that you could just say I run Arch and start slapping Arch stickers on everything and throw the by the ways here and there?
Yeah.
Or is it not?
I'll leave you with another question.
Okay.
Does it really matter?
It does not. And I think Dan and I are just having fun.
We are.
With the conversation. And there's absolutely no flaming or by the waying in any kind of seriousness here.
Right. No, absolutely.
And nor should anybody take this question and try to do that kind of thing with it anywhere else. Because at the end of the day, what Dan thinks or what I think about Arch or not Arch, it doesn't matter.
No.
Because we're all on the Linux kernel anyway.
Yep.
So let's just enjoy the Linux kernel the way that it is and not worry too much about the flavor that sits on top of that.
I agree with that. Yeah. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to send us a buck over at patreon.com/LinuxUserspace. And if you haven't subbed on YouTube, do it. Do it now. youtube.com/LinuxUserspace. And you'll find our channel. Then you can hit the subscribe thing. Ding the bell. Get the notifications.
Why do you have to ding the bell now? I still don't understand why you have to do an extra step to make the thing do what it used to do before. You used to click one button and it worked. And now you got to click two buttons. Pretty soon there's going to be, you got to subscribe, and then you got to ding the bell, and then you got to check a box.
Well, if you want to comment, that helps too, I guess.
Well, that's cool too, because I enjoy the conversation, but the bell. Why the bell?
Yeah, I don't know the bell.
I don't get the bell. From Voyager to Manjaro, back to Voyager, and then to Antergos. Brian Puwadmojo didn't know it at the time, but he had just found his home. When troubleshooting Paymac after an update left it broken, he needed to log into the forums. Fearful that forums were infested with nameless graybeard trolls just waiting for a fresh newbie to belittle, he quickly realized the Antergos forums weren't that at all when he encountered the handles Joe and Fernando, who walked him through the terminal usage to fix things. Brian had little choice. He was hooked on the community. Later, when Antergos announced they were closing up shop in May of 2019, and with 3 months' time at best, Brian asked the community he grew to love, would we like to continue this community on another forum? Focused mostly on the community aspect and still green as far as Arch and Linux were concerned, he expected a few more technical members to take the initiative and make Antergos 2.0. Instead, he found himself in the middle of a new distro's birth with all eyes on him. Even while protesting that he would just be in the way, our novice Antergos user was now the reluctant leader for a ragtag bunch of Arch users that were ready to take on a new challenge. Of course, Brian did what anybody in that situation would do. He announced an entirely new project. He petitioned the newly formed community for names, but with pushback on every name submitted, including astronomically named Endeavour, they were stuck. With an attractive hosting deal's time limit running out and the community's support hitting a fever pitch with space and spacecraft-themed wallpaper ideas, EndeavourOS was born. Ooh, what a story.
That is a great story.
So in 2019, we mentioned it a second ago, May, Antergos dies. And it was for lack of time, for the same reason a lot of projects die, right?
Mm-hmm. They had some things that made them unique, and the community was definitely one of them, and obviously that hooked Brian.
And it did, right? I mean, the community was a huge piece. He had talked about coming from Voyage, but I didn't know Voyager was an Ubuntu-based distribution. Yep. It would have been on my list had I known about it. And it's still going strong. There's a 2204.1 already. So I mean, they stay very up to date. But I just never heard of it, which is interesting.
It's on the list. It's a short list.
Definitely. So after Antergos dies, long live Endeavour, right? So Joe and Fernando, their usernames were changed a little bit to make the story flow a little bit better. But Johannes Kamprad, who goes by Joe Kamprad on the forums, and Fernando Frozy, and Manuel joined quickly after the announcement of, hey, Antergos is dead. I want to keep the community together. What are we going to do? Those three joined, helped change the plan, right? Which was just a community thing.
Right. The plan was just to continue on with the community that was already existing and keep the things that they already had. And so they changed it like really early days.
Right. To a whole actual distro. And so in the About Us page of Endeavour, which made this part of the history gathering really nice, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
There's a quote. With the plan to turn Endeavour into EndeavourOS, we deliberately traveled another road than Antergos did. It never was, and it will never be our intention to be an Antergos clone. In fact, our departure point was the Antergos community and not the Antergos distro. And that's why we chose to let go of the look and feel of our predecessor and find our own voice in creating our own identity with the community at our side. So Antergos was very big on like having sane defaults and nice defaults.
Still close to Arch, though. Very close, intentionally close to Arch and not straying too far.
Right.
Sane defaults, yes.
Right, and Endeavour took the opposite approach, which is, it is what it is. That's what GNOME said it is, or that's what Plasma decided it was, or that's what XFCE ships with. So, right. And so Endeavour has that keep it simple Arch underpinning.
Yep.
But it's still intended for intermediate users, because as you're going to find out pretty quickly, they didn't install anything like PayMac out of the box. You can go put it there if you want to, but you have to know how to get that all set up and configured to do everything you want it to do. So one other quote from the About Us: this resulted in a distro that is lightweight and ships with a minimum amount of pre-installed apps, an almost blank canvas ready to personalize. So on June 23rd of 2019, the EndeavourOS website is launched. I think this is planting the flag in the ground. Yep. And as we mentioned before, in the bit of the story that introed this, they were running out of time. They had to decide on a name.
Yep.
There was a good deal on web space, on hosting, on all of this stuff, but they had to decide on a name, a domain, everything.
Right.
And that's what pushed them forward. There was one design person. I think he was going to be the person that decided, I'll handle all the web-facing stuff and make it look pretty and everything. That particular person was the source of the biggest amount of the pushback of, well, I don't like that name. I don't like that name. I don't like that name. Well, he couldn't come up with any names either. So everybody, after everybody started making wallpapers and putting penguins in space and stuff, Endeavour kind of stuck. It became a meme for the community, and that meme became the name.
Right.
So you got to plant the flag. You got to take that deal, plant the flag, call it EndeavourOS, and they didn't change the name, right?
Yeah. Once you get there, just keep it going.
Right. And so the community had to come around somewhere. That's July 2nd. The forum is launched. A week later, on the 7th, the Mastodon account is announced, following a promise to keep things on open platforms that kind of got muddled along the way because there's a pretty big Twitter presence and a few other accounts around. But
they still have the open things too. So, Mastodon, Matrix is there.
Right.
Those things are they're very prominent still. So
right, absolutely. Then July 10th, the first beta is available. So you can already get your feet wet with Endeavour with that vanilla goodness already.
Yeah, so we went from May to July, and now we're already doing a beta release.
Then July 15th, the first online stable release. So it betaed for 5 whole days, and then the first offline stable release is available, which includes the customized XFCE desktop environment, which is the only one they customized, and they started doing that very early. The 15th is also the day the EndeavourOS will strive to hit every month with their releases. So the 15th is a early target. Every month, they're going to try to put out an ISO and we'll see just how that goes.
Well, it's a good target. It's the middle of the month, so there you go.
Right, exactly, right? So August, not 15th, the 17th, after a delay of 2 days for the August ISO, it arrived on time the second time, right? So it was the 15th, and we're like, well, it's going to be 2 more days. Oh, they hit that target. Then another month goes by, September 11th, the path is set. The focus is on a net installer, which offers plenty of choice, but XFCE will stay the flagship desktop environment, and a soon-to-be-released quarterly magazine named Discovery is announced, and donations to the tune of $5 once or monthly. Server space costs money, you know.
No, for sure. Yeah, absolutely it does.
Then the 15th, right on target. The ISO is available. And remember, like, they don't really have names. They're just respins of the same stuff. It's Arch, right? Like, you're just getting newer packages of the same stuff. So it's not like much changes in those particular things. So there's not really a lot to say. September 28th, the Discovery magazine gets a wider scope, and it'll be much more. It'll be a magazine, a site where community contributions are welcome and focused on the AUR, community scripts, and workarounds. You know, the stuff that you need for Arch when things break.
Sure.
The distribution gets a finer definition as well. These ideas were already around, but defined in a forum post here and there. But now, the ideas are officially becoming part of the EndeavourOS identity. And so, quoted, EndeavourOS aims at the group of distro hoppers that are looking for a new challenge in their Linux experience by getting their feet wet, ready to get some elbow grease with Arch Linux in a friendly environment. It was and never will be our vision to offer a feature-rich and out-of-the-box experience. So, and this is going to be a recurring theme. They have to say it over and over. And it's because they have the stigma of coming from Antergos, which did offer that.
Right.
And they can't shake it. And to this day, still cannot shake it. I mean, they should. He said it. Brian said it enough times. I think people should get
everybody
the
should
by
know
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But still. Anyway, the AUR helper Yay will be the standard instead of the GUI installer Paymac. And I don't know how many times on the forums I saw, hey, where's Paymac? Why is Paymac not installed? Where is this at? Why is that not there? And it's just use Yay.
Right.
just use Yay.
Go install it. Use Yay.
Right. October 15th, right on target. The ISO's there. October 23rd, the Kalu update notifier is busted. So up until this point, they were using Kalu to let you know that you had to go run your updates. But speaking of updates, some updates of the Arch packages broke it. So you're encouraged to do things by hand for now. The next day. And this is amazing, by the way. The next day.
Yeah, one day. One.
A homespun update notifier, the EOS update-notifier, I forget what it's called, was found to be a bit aggressive, right? So they launched it, people gave feedback on it in the same 24 hours here, seemed to be a bit aggressive and in your face with a 2-hour check and notification. It's kind of annoying.
It's a little quick, yeah.
Right? But they say, all right, be patient, we're going to fix it. Manuel is not a superhero, but we'll get it, sorted.
Yeah.
7 minutes later, an update on the forum post.
That's not superhuman, like, I'm just going to say. Yeah, no.
Just 7 minutes later, there's an update to it. So, I don't know if he's a superhero or not, but we should keep tabs on him.
Oh,
right?
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
The net installer on November 1st is on hold due to Joe's real-world obligations.
Yeah.
So the next day, Discovery launches with a few articles written by Brian himself that aren't available anymore that I could find. You can still get some of them on archive.org, but one of my favorites and another recurring theme is an article titled Rolling Release Distros Suck. Now, he's not saying that. That's just feedback that, you get about rolling release distros. But it's a suggestion. It's an article written to implore you to stay cool as Cucumber, right? Arch distros change a lot, and sometimes you run into bugs. Be excellent to each other when that happens because it's inevitable. And as always, the community is there. That's the biggest part of Endeavour is the community.
Well, I think it's easy to miss a memo and having a friendly face on the other side saying, hey, you missed this is a lot better. So he's got a good point.
Right. On the 6th of November, the heavy lifters are finally set in stone. We've heard these names already, though, but Fernando is ISO development, foundation work in Calamaris and implementation. Joe is ISO development, post-check foundation, Calamaris, and DE theming. Manuel is developer implementation for EOS, cleaning up the installation scripts and general post-checks. And Brian is website, server maintainer, community manager, and general coordinator. See, he never quite dove in too terribly far to the technical part of any of this. But hey.
That's okay. You need someone to do all those things.
You do. And everybody rallied around Brian. So
having good roles defined, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fantastic, honestly. And having a less technical role and having somebody focus on those things, that's really needed.
Yep. November 14th. It's noted that the November release will take a little longer than the 15th due to some issues with laptop sleep and XFCE shortcuts. And on the 20th, it's decided we're just not going to have a November release at all. The focus is on a bigger and better December release, including the net installer, but in the meantime, Brian's going to take a quick break. That lasted for about a whole week. Honestly, I think you take a month, but hey,
a week's cool.
Catch your breath. That's okay. December 5th, the December not release refresh is released to address the Kalu issues on October 23rd. But remember, it's not the December release, just a bug fix kind of thing. December 8th, the monthly release on the 15th is now a bi-monthly release, so the team can remain sane. So they're taking a step back a little bit, giving themselves a little more breathing room. And Endeavour Welcome app, EOS Welcome, looked a little different back then, but it's the same Welcome app, has been gaining momentum in the background. Yep, that one. Oh, and a friendly reminder, again, they're not the Antergos successor. You just got to keep reminding folks, right? They know where you came from, so they're going to keep tacking you with that. Anyway, December 20th, with Arch preparing a lot of changes to Xorg, the Christmas surprise net installer is postponed. Some bugs, so hang on a little longer.
Yeah.
December 22nd, a Christmas miracle happens anyway with the addition of the Alpix mirror for packages and ISOs instead of just simply hosting them on GitHub. So they have a real live mirror now, and those start coming in more and more as time goes on, but Alpix was the first.
Okay.
The next day, another miracle. The net installer is stable and ready for inclusion on the December ISO. No beta period because they're just that confident. The team is...
Get rid of there.
Yeah, just shove it in. The team's happy with the basic function, and they need your feedback. So, test it, but it's not a test. 2020, February 13th, there's a recurring theme on the forum. I mentioned it before, and I'll probably mention it again. Chill out. Stuff goes wrong. Just relax. Think, there's a person on the other end of that handle, even if it's Turkey Joe or something, right?
It's still sage advice,
Right. So, chill out. February 28th, the bi-monthly ISO is going to be a little late. The focus is now on when it's ready. Look ahead. The plan is to include translations for the Welcome app, Lux encryption in Calamaris, updated branding and theming for Calamaris, a separate NVIDIA ISO. Yeah, you NVIDIA folks, you got to get a whole new thing. So users with the new NVIDIA GPU can boot the ISO because before you couldn't because Nouveau just wouldn't work. The regular core system updates such as the Linux kernel and the Mesa updates will be included as well. March 16th, the ISO is pushed back again. This time, do you remember March? Do you remember what happened March 2020?
Yeah, it wasn't so, yeah.
Lockdowns, man.
Yep.
Yeah. So that happened. And on the 19th, the hits keep coming. Everybody has a busted certificate. Bite them at least once. And this just happened to be EndeavourOS's time. So, yeah, every time you went to the website, it was like, not secure. You shouldn't do this. Don't run away really fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then on April 7th, the ISO marches on, and a release date is imminent. So April 11th, the April release has arrived. The separate ISO mentioned in February never happened. Instead, it was all rolled into an option in the universal ISO. Calamaris is almost 100% with partitions still causing some pain, but Lux encryption is available. Vanilla theming, except for XFCE, is the standard, and the Alpix mirror is now baked right into the installer, so a little faster. April 20th, the April release had some weird boot issues that were seemingly random. I saw the forum post on this one and couldn't really get a lock on what hardware, because it was sometimes and it wasn't sometimes, and other people with the same hardware were just fine and random.
Sounds very kernel related, but yeah.
Probably. But a new ISO was spun to address those. May 10th, the May release is released. The focus is mostly on hardware compatibility and performance. This is the first time, by the way, that we hear about the Linux Pizza mirror. There was no announcement about them being added, I think just because, mirrors were getting added kind of at a faster pace now, so it didn't warrant, each individual getting a shout. But I like Linux Pizza. I think it's in Sweden. It's actually kind of slow for me here in the States, but I choose it anyway because it's called Linux Pizza.
Yeah, pizza.
So, May 15th, the Welcome app gets a facelift. So it's starting to look a lot more like what we expect, what we see today. July 15th, the anniversary, the 1-year anniversary, and on this anniversary, we get a whole new release. On the back of donations throughout the year, July sees EndeavourOS's back-end hardware improvements, which keep the project afloat. The Welcome app gains a tab for own commands. I saw the screenshot, really is called own commands, but now I think it's known as personal commands, or it was. And there was a package cleanup option added to keep the system nice and tidy. September 19th, the new ISO is dropped, as well as EndeavourOS ARM. So the Welcome app gets a few more translation, a resolution button that helped out quite a few people, and access to new wallpapers with a community wallpaper selection in the works. The GNOME Software Center and KDE Discover, ripping them out, just causing confusion.
Needed.
Right. I mean, just use Paymac, use Yay, use whatever, just not those. It's gonna mess you up. So, and the built-in notifier won't give Arch-specific news anymore for the same reason, right? Some of those applied to you, some of those did not. Right. But you got all the notifications to the face anyway, and so you were like, well, so you had to hit the forum every time, like, do I need to? Is this a manual intervention or no? Anyway, the ARM edition was tested on the Odroid N2, the N2 Plus, the XU4, and the Raspberry Pi 4B. But that's not it. That's what they were tested on, but there were also manuals for the Pinebook Pro, Pine 64, and Rock 64. But the statement was made that if it makes the minimum hardware cutoff, it's probably fine. So December 4th, the November release was obviously delayed, but the September ISO's online installer still works just fine. So the cool thing about that is that, right, you connect up to Wi-Fi, you run the installation online, pulls all the newest updates. So it's not a big deal to not have a new ISO. It's mostly just the kernels and tools if it jives with your hardware.
Underlying bits, but like all the packages you install are going to be the latest ones anyway.
Right. So if you can get to the point where you can turn Wi-Fi on, you're golden.
You're good. Yeah.
December 15th, Fernando gets a new job and takes a back seat on development. Now, keep in mind, Fernando was the one that worked on pretty much all of the early stuff for getting Endeavour bootstrapped and working. He worked on, so there was Antergos, and then there was Portergos, I think is what it was called. Anyway, a lot of the Portergos stuff is what ended up in Endeavour, which is what ran a lot of the early Endeavour stuff. Anyway, so we'll hear more about that in a minute. 2021, February 3rd. The November release is available. Wait a minute.
It's February.
The release that was supposed to be in November is now in February. But Brian puts it, it was just fashionably late.
Sure,
That was it. More translations, more terminals, faster mirror updates, PacDiff is added to the check changes, and lots of bugs are squashed. So still making a lot of progress. March 15th, the website gets a refresh, and also important news is added to GitHub. So you can still go there now. I've got a link to it in the show notes. You can go and see, like, these are the headline issues you need to know about these things. There are not a whole lot, and it's got a historical view on it as well. So you can see the very first one, which was now, and then every subsequent important news announcement. You got to deal with this kind of thing.
Yeah, lets you know what you have to deal with in the moment.
Yeah. The March 28th, the February release had a bug where updating the welcome app from the welcome app broke the welcome app and prevented it from launching the welcome app. So the solution is just not to update the welcome app. Easy enough. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that one was on the GitHub important news page.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just don't update it. April 3rd, Discovery, the magazine / wiki / community resource / blog, has been discontinued due to lack of writers. It was always meant to be a community thing, and Brian was the biggest voice there, and so instead, it's going to be just more of a knowledge base for x86, 64-bit machines, ARM systems, and where you can find some video tutorials. And it's kind of, I can't say it changed a whole heck of a lot. It's still
mostly that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still a knowledge base, still kind of a not really a wiki, but it's certainly somewhere you go to figure stuff out. Yeah. Right. April 17th, I always want to call this like BSPWM or something, but that's not how it's BSPWM.
Yeah.
What does that stand for something?
I believe it does. Well, it's a window manager, obviously. So WM is window manager. Too. I got you there.
Yeah, right.
BSP stands for something. Yes.
Yep. It is definitely a window manager. We know that much. And Sway community editions are added to the installer, and we say goodbye to Deepin. Everybody had trouble with Deepin on Arch, and there was an improved experience that was promised. Pretty much anybody that was shipping it was like, it'll be fine eventually, and then it just never was. So I think we're in a better spot now, but then not so much. June 29th, it's announced that the anniversary ISO won't be available July 15th, not because of something that's broken, though. That's the big thing. They're postponing it not because they just couldn't fit everything in time, but because the ISOs as we know them are being redesigned. So here it comes. Since Fernando held much of the knowledge, all that stuff that came from Portergos that Endeavour was using, since he had taken a step back, looking ahead, it was simpler to just redesign it all. A clean slate, so to speak. August 4th, that redesign is already paying dividends ahead of their next release. Installs that sometimes took hours are now being clocked in at about 6 to 15 minutes.
Wow.
And even 3 minutes. They clocked an install at 3 minutes with the caveat that they had super fast internet. So, hey, if you got fast internet, you got a fast install. August 27th. ISO Next. They were trying to figure out what to call this, and for now, they called it ISO Next.
Mm-hmm.
That was launched as the first product after the redesign, and the improved install speeds came with it. Apps Info, which is still there today, was introduced, which linked to information and how-tos for each of the application EndeavourOS relies on. Community wallpapers. They said it, now they did it. Are now available, so you can go grab those. Calamaris got an overhaul and is very close to what we see today, so that process, pretty similar. ButterFS now has automatic sub-volume support, and I'm enjoying that right now. It's amazing. I love it. I don't have to do anything. It
is nice.
Does it for me. No need to double log in for Wi-Fi. That is something that has bugged me on every live installation of anything ever forever because it's annoying.
Yeah.
You type in your Wi-Fi password, you install, you get the updates, you reboot. Now what do you got to do? Type in your Wi-Fi password
log
again.
back
Not
into
anymore.
the Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Not in Endeavour. The LTS kernels are now an option in the installer and a ton more. Just
the list is long.
It was huge. This, I mean, 2020 and 2021 was when you had these seismic shifts of how good Endeavour was getting, and it just got better and better and better with every release. I mean, it was in the interim between those releases, but the releases when everybody pays attention, so that's when all this news kind of comes out. Anyway, December 3rd, Atlantis 21.4 is out and is the first release to sport the new aircraft name with a year.month version number. It makes it a little easier to figure out if you're on the right ISO. Yeah. Yep. Ships with a hotfix feature, one of my favorite, that allows devs to push patches to the Calamaris installer before it starts in online scenarios. This prevents having to spin ISOs as frequently, but the offline installer will still need fixes that will require a new ISO to be spun. But so this hotfix thing, when there are issues, you go online, and then when you launch the Calamaris installer, before the Calamaris installer launches, it pulls down a new Calamaris. So it launches only the newest one that has any fix that they've pushed since then. Fantastic way to deal with issues in the installer. Pipewire is now the default, and ButterFS uses Z standard compression by default, and again, the list goes on. December 17th, 2 weeks later, almost on the dot, Atlantis Neo, an interim release, is here. So this is when they announce Endeavour will now see major and interim releases. Major releases are exactly as they sound, right? The Atlantis one, okay, I won't spoil it. We have more, but the named ones, and the interim releases fix workarounds that were required previously, make ISO-wide changes, and will also bring with them updated upstream packages. Atlantis Neo specifically included Power Profiles Daemon, replacing TLP, encrypted ButterFS, now works with Swap, and a few others. Now, as a Christmas surprise, which was part of the interim release, but it wasn't, they just happened to be at the same time. LXDE is now official, and Qtile and OpenBox are community editions. So, side note, if a second interim release is required, and spoiler, we haven't seen one yet, it would be named Nova. So, Atlantis Nova could have been a thing, but
it wasn't.
Didn't need it. 2022, current year, January 21st. The Raspberry Pi 4 gets 64-bit support. Prior to this, 32-bit only. It worked, but if you had more than 4 gigs of RAM, if you had the 8 gig version, you were not quite. And then April 8th, Apollo 22.5 is launched with Worm.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Worm. I suppose Worm was chosen because it starts with a W, ends with an M, Window Manager, right? Because it's a new X11-based window manager developed by Codic 12, a member of the Community Editions team. Firewall D is enabled by default. UFW seems to be the go-to for a lot of them, but
it does. But yeah, they have Firewall D.
But I've got a bit of a Red Hat background, so Firewall D is cool, enabled by default, and to the relief of security folks everywhere, right? Like,
what's actually enabled, which is another thing that a lot of distros don't do either.
That's what I mean. Like, having it enabled by default. Yeah, it's one thing to say, well, just don't open that port. It's another thing to say, don't open that port and whatever you do, don't poke a hole in the firewall.
Right.
You have that extra catch, which is the firewall. So yeah, Firewall D, beautiful. Enabled, beautiful. Quick Start is available upon install to help install common apps on a new system. And ButterFS is refined even more by compressing all files after installation instead of just newly created files. Okay, a little background on this. Basically, what would happen is the Z standard wouldn't apply to files that were plopped on your system during install. They would only apply to files after. Now, if those system files got updated, of course, they would be compressed. But if they never got touched, never got updated, never moved or anything like that, uncompressed. So this is now the swap to, everything is compressed. After the install, we're going to make sure we're going to compress it. April 27th, the Apollo ISO sees a fix, and there's a workaround for those that need it. The issue was due to an Arch Linux keyring update. So we said that
here's one.
The security certificate expired. Kind of the same thing, right? Yeah. Online installations were fixed via the hotfix, so that was fantastic, right? I mean, if you had an internet connection, you didn't really even see this because you immediately hopped on your Wi-Fi or plugged in, and so you got all the fixes immediately. But the workaround was needed for the offline folks, and the fix was trivial, right? I mean, they had instructions how to do it, how to deal with it, and everything.
It's a fairly common thing in Arch too, because they do it when they roll out their new ISOs.
Right. Exactly. So the fix was trivial, but if you didn't apply the fix or if you didn't get the hot fix, your install would likely fail. June 24th, Artemis 22.6 is launched, named after NASA's Artemis mission meant to lay the foundation for a future Mars mission. Artemis, the EndeavourOS version, lays the foundation for future ARM development. The ARM team has seen lots of success so far with the Odroid N2 series and Raspberry Pi, and a plan to add the Pinebook support to that list. Downgrading EndeavourOS packages is now supported with EOS downgrade. And keyring issues should be much less of an issue now that the online installation updates it automatically. Cool stuff. July 4th. Oh, what a day. The forum is dead. I went down a rabbit hole figuring out what happened, and ooh boy. You might want to blame Endeavour for this one, but it's not their fault. And a little over 24 hours after it was dead, with the help of Jonathan on the Discourse?
Yeah, right? I think that's that. Yeah, I mean,
right.
So it's
because
the Discourse,
the project
has their own discourse. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the Discourse. Anyway, Jonathan on the Discourse helped get everything resurrected. It seemed, as I was reading through that thread, there was a bug that inadvertently obsoleted AMD Opteron, the AMD Opteron that the Endeavour Discourse was running on, among a bunch of 10-ish-year-old CPUs that, just caused havoc for anybody. And so what was funny is that I was going through this thread and I realized that not even the developers had intended for this to happen. What ended up happening was you have to do some kind of local compilation during the installation of Discourse or the upgrade of Discourse, but something was snuck in there that that instruction set just did not work.
Couldn't handle,
just couldn't do it. So it wasn't that Discourse meant to obsolete those CPUs. It was that a change that upgraded something that required it to be compiled on the local machine that just couldn't.
Yeah.
So downside, Endeavour had to spend, Endeavour as a team had to spend more money on newer machines, even though Discourse themselves got it fixed a couple of weeks later. But if you heard, they were up 24 hours later, not 2 weeks later.
Right.
So, yeah, Endeavour took care of the problem. Well, Discourse did too eventually, but that would have led to a lot of downtime on the forum.
Well, and they're running on 10-year-old CPUs. We're getting close to time to upgrade hardware anyway, right?
That was part of the discussion, right? Like nobody would have been running on these servers had they known that it was going to be one of these types of events, right? They would have upgraded prior to this point, but nobody said anything.
Yeah, it worked, right? So why change it? I get that.
Right, and the Discourse folks, as they mentioned in the Discourse, that's just so weird to say. The Discourse folks in their Discourse did mention that it was not intentional. They did not mean to do this, but the damage was done, and anyway. So August 8th, Artemis Neo, just in time for the recording of the show.
That's like recent.
Yep, more Arch keyring fixes, so it'll never happen again, hopefully, maybe. And a locale issue with Calamaris, and of course, better EndeavourOS mirror ranking. So not the Arch rankings, that already happens. EndeavourOS rankings, that is now happening. So really cool stuff. But that's it. That was that as we're recording. Now. Yeah, that was like 2 days ago. So we're current. We know everything there is to know about the history of EndeavourOS.
Want to read the Linux news that matters as it unfolds? Head on over to our subreddit or our news channel on Discord. linuxuserspace.show/reddit or linuxuserspace.show/discord. And we've got Telegram and Matrix too. Just put Telegram and Matrix at the end of that, linuxuserspace.show, and you'll land there too.
Yep. Telegram and Matrix, more for the chats. Discord for the chats too, right? But more for the news.
Nice news feed, plus us recording and our weekly live streams. Bi-weekly live streams.
If you do one of those tiers on that there Patreon, you can hear this as it records a little less, and then you can get it after the fact, which is kind of cool. Otherwise, you could just, support the show.
All right, Leo. So we've been doing this for a month. We said earlier that it was just kind of boring, but I don't know that that's a bad thing. So how did it go for you?
Quite amazingly, what I didn't have to do is install Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, DHCPD, Network Manager. I didn't have to do any of that. That was just given to me.
Yes.
I loaded up the ISO. I chose ButterFS. I chose XFCE and GNOME. You're right, because I wanted the new, and then I also wanted the flagship, if you can call it that. I think you can call it that, right? Just to see.
So you chose GNOME
and XFCE. I kind of just flip flopped back and forth. I wanted to do both because XFCE is the flagship, and GNOME is growing on me, so I just tend to use it more and more these days. Cinnamon's still there. Still use it. It's what I'm on now, but still.
I went a completely different route, just so you know. I don't think I've done on. Well, we must have done it once, but
did you use a window manager?
No, I chose Budgie.
Okay.
I chose Budgie.
Really?
Yeah.
How did that go?
It went really well. Actually, it's one I haven't used in a while, and I don't even think when we did Solus, whenever that was back in season 2, I guess.
Did you not use Budgie back then?
I don't even know if I did then, because I almost think I did KDE Plasma on Solus, but I don't remember. I might have done Budgie then. I don't remember. It was so long ago.
Right.
It's been a while, so I haven't used it, and so I chose Budgie, and it was pretty good.
Very nice.
I think, so like you like cinnamon. It's very cinnamon-like.
It
right?
is. Actually, I was in love with Budgie for a little while before. Right. Like I was on cinnamon, and then Budgie just has a little extra. I don't know what you call it. Like, has a little extra pizzazz to it.
It does. So I'll give you a bit of an analogy, and it's very rough. So I would say cinnamon is very Windows 7-ish feel to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say Budgie is a little more Windows 10-ish feel to it. Not completely true, but like leaning that direction.
I can see
because
that.
like you have a Raven menu, so like your audio thingies.
Yeah.
Like that's sort of got that feel to it. Anyway,
yeah,
it was good for
absolutely.
me. I liked it.
And right, and so you can't really talk too much about what EndeavourOS is, EndeavourOS is, because EndeavourOS is more just the tooling to get you up and running. But then once you're there, once you've run like EOS Quick Start, because I forgot to install that group of packages during the install. Well, let me go install that now. The multimedia this or Office apps that.
Yep.
You're just Arch. And at the top of the show, we were kind of, back and forthing about isn't it pure Arch or whatever. But
might not be pure Arch, but it still has all the Arch packaging, and the AUR is still there. So like all of the software is there for you. So
all I'm saying is Arch doesn't ship with PayMac, and EndeavourOS doesn't ship with PayMac. So
that's true. But you're not like grabbing for the Flatpak or the Snap or whatever to get your software.
Not immediately.
For the most part, though, not even really, because like it is in the AUR or it is in the community repo.
That is true.
So you don't you got to go deep to find something that doesn't come from there. Not that you can't, but it's really deep.
The thing that gets me is that I can pretty much live without the AUR for the most part.
There's a couple of things.
Yeah, 95% of what I need is in, if it's not in the base Arch repo, it's in the Arch community repo.
Right.
Like Discord's there.
Yeah, community. That's in the community repo. Yeah,
that's one of the that's one of the reasons I have to use Flatpak on pretty much every distro ever is to get Discord.
Yeah,
but Arch just packages the thing, so I don't have to worry about it, and that's just really nice on Endeavour, right?
Right. So I guess the only other thing that I know you use is Brave. Brave browser is in. You got to go to the AUR for that.
That is correct.
Vivaldi, though, that's in the community repo, I'm pretty sure. So
no way.
I feel like it was. I don't feel like I went to the AUR for that. So there's a divide there. And it may have to do with the amount of open sourceness that they have and whatnot, right? Because the only thing closed in Vivaldi, it's source available, but not open source, is the UI bits. And so
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just did a quick search just because, not that I didn't believe you. I just wanted to see it from trust but verify, Dan.
That's fair.
Trust but verify.
You're good.
And you're not joking. It's right there, Vivaldi, right there in the community repo.
That's the only thing I can come up with was with the reason why, right? It's like the amount of open sourceness to it. And
can't believe it. I
don't know.
Wow. If I dumped Brave, and this is the 5%, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
If I dumped Brave, I wouldn't need the AUR unless I start getting all extra Archy and, I need to install this thing that someone just now published to GitHub.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But, that's one of the fantastic things about Arch. That's one of the fantastic things that Endeavour inherits from Arch, is that you have a lot of the software way faster than most places.
Yeah.
I think the speed of Flatpak is catching up.
It's very close.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, at least for desktop software, I think Flatpak kind of wins it there because I use a lot of the GNOME stuff too, and that's only Flatpak.
The Plasma stuff is I actually just saw in their goals. They went out to the community to find out their goals for roadmap. Basically, one of their goals is actually to put Flatpak as a first place, first avenue to publish.
All right.
So, I mean, the KDE folks are looking at that stuff too.
You know what? It seems to me more and more, and I know this is not even really on the topic. Snap's great for the server. Flatpak's great for the desktop, and anyway, that's off topic. That's not what we're talking about.
That's not what we're talking about.
but
it's true.
Still,
so software availability is a big thing with Endeavour because you have Arch and AUR, and it's just there.
Yeah, and if you wanted to, which kind of rolls it back in, you could install Flatpak. You could install Snapd if those are the things that you want, or if you just prefer to get your software that way. And with GNOME and KDE saying, Flatpak first,
right,
then maybe you do want to change or add it to the mixture of how you're getting your software because it's first party, right? And that's one of the big things that I try to do because I still use Bitwarden as an app image it's the only app image I use because Bitwarden publishes themselves an app image. They endorse the other ones, but
they do the Snap too. But if you don't have snaps, then you're looking to the app image probably.
Right. Exactly, and I'm on Mint, right? So Flatpak, so I'm just app image on that one.
I agree with that.
But EndeavourOS has got quite a few of these helper applications. I mentioned the Quick Start one, which is, like I said, if you forget a bundle of apps that you didn't get on the install, that one's great. The welcome screen though,
it's very basic, but boy, it's key. It comes in key with the timing, so you get it when you first launch. And one of the first buttons that you see there is to rank your mirrors, right?
Yeah.
And set up your mirrors on Arch, because that's one of the things you would do in your Arch install.
Kind of important.
Set up your mirrors so that you can get your applications. So very clutch in the timing, I feel like, is the welcome screen.
Yes, and the second button is update your system. So
So you get the mirrors updated, then you're going to update your system. That's like 1, 2, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah. The thing about Endeavour is I never throughout the whole month disabled the welcome screen
I did not
on
either.
startup.
Nope.
Every other distribution, every single distribution I've ever used in Linux, the first thing to go is don't show me that again. I don't.
Yeah.
I've made my choices. I've done my things. Don't ever show that to me again. Not Endeavour, because we're on an Arch-based distro where updates are paramount.
Yeah. And
the longer you wait, the more risk you're taking. So every time I logged in, update the system. Go ahead and do that.
Well, in the times that I didn't, it was still sitting there, or if I suspended and then I came back, the update-notifier actually did a pretty good job of letting me know when there were packages to update to.
Okay, well, I don't think I saw that because I
only had it a couple of times. And like I said, I'd close the lid and put it in suspend, and then I came back to it, and it's like, oh yeah, hey, you got updates here. I didn't see the welcome again because, well, I wasn't a fresh login. It was just a waking up, right? And that's when it realized you got updates. And only a couple of times really did it bug me with that. It didn't bug me. It just notified me. And that was a nice little touch, I feel like. And with Arch, that's kind of key, I guess, to remind you to make sure you're at least weekly, probably, doing updates. Because you don't want to get too far behind.
Right, yeah.
Things can happen that aren't good for you.
Yeah, can happen. Not normally do they happen, but
no,
I mean,
but
yeah,
if you want to mitigate that, I guess.
Yeah, you're risking a lot by waiting a long time. So I mean, keep up with them. But speaking of kind of like staying on the cusp of information, it's not like it's a huge thing. But one thing that I really did appreciate was that they have an EOS Arch news application, and I don't know, I probably launched it a whole 4 times, but the fact that it was super easy, like I didn't have to remember to go, go Google Arch News and then click on the link or whatever. It was built in, and all it really did was it launched Firefox to the right web address, so that I could make sure that I'm, that keyring changing again, or like, do you need to manually intervene on, this package is coming down? Be ready, because this is gonna break. Endeavor's not gonna save you from that. You have to, pay
you've got to know how to take care of that. Yeah,
right.
I mean, they give you the instructions to take care of it, but you've got to know enough to go looking for that a little bit.
Right, and then when it breaks, because you weren't paying attention, and then you go to the EndeavourOS forum, they're getting that information straight from the Arch News. So
for the most part,
if you keep up with that, not that you don't want to go to the forum, you just maybe don't want to go to the forum with a problem. You go, post some turkey mugs. That's the thing. That's what you want to go do on the forum. Right. But, of course, if you have a problem, that's one of the best things about Endeavour, is that the community, by and large, of course, there's always a troll. There's always a troll.
Well, everywhere,
But by and large, everybody's really cool over there.
No, very cool. I was super impressed with the forums. And, so you did mention the news thing. They actually do have a category that is for important news right there on the forum. So if you just want to go look at nothing else, at least pay attention to that, I suppose.
Exactly. The announcements are cool too, because then when the new ISO's coming out, when big changes to like the Welcome app or whatever, all the other EOS apps.
But it's very broken up too. Like if you're looking for something that's desktop environment related, they had that. Like each any idiosyncrasy that was going on with a DE, they could tell you. And architecture too, because like they had the whole ARM section, and on top of that, the desktop environment. Like it goes on and on. Like how well it's broken out with the information, so that you can just get the thing you want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think overall, EndeavourOS still is the community.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the thing that separates it probably from all of the other derivatives, right? I mean, they have all got their own little, niche, but I think the forum, the community there is the thing that really draws the attention.
It really ties the room together.
Yep.
I mean, if you ask me, because my opinion is very respected in all of the Linux communities.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's the best thing about EndeavourOS. When you have a problem, they will help you sort it out. When you have a question, they will do their best to answer, or at least give you the right information. And that, I think, is exactly what Brian and the original group wanted to keep from Antergos.
Sure.
And I think they succeeded. Distro or not.
I was just going to say, it all stems from the leadership.
Yeah.
The leadership, encourages the community aspect of it, because anytime I've ever had any interaction with any of them, and that's been few, don't get me wrong. It's not a lot, but like the few times that I have, it's been nothing but fantastic. Nothing but fantastic. They're great
Absolutely.
people.
Exactly. So that's it. If you want a good community, if you want to stay on Arch, right? Like none of this holding back for 2 weeks or whatever it is. You just Arch straight to the face.
Arch,
But you don't want to slog through setting it up. EndeavourOS is right there. We did Arco a while back.
That's also very good.
Right. It's kind of in the same niche where
it's got a community, but it's a learning community, so it's a different aspect of it, right?
Right, exactly. So our Arco is more about building yourself up and learning everything you need to know so that you can leave Arco, but know where you end up. And probably just Endeavour.
Maybe Arch or Endeavour, right?
Right.
But we talked about Garuda as well, and a very similar vein over there as well. But they've got a little different focus on they heavily customize things.
Oh,
so
yeah,
just a very different focus, and they give you a lot different tools. Like neither is bad. None of them are bad. It's just different.
Of course not.
Different.
Right.
Different goal, different.
What do they say?
Target.
Different strokes for different folks.
Different target. So if you want it to be a little more Arch-like and very simple and just a couple of nice touches, I think Endeavour is a good choice.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is, and it's making me want to just leave it there forever, just to see how long I can get an Arch installed to live. And not blow itself up. Not that Arch blows itself up a lot, but I'll forget about it for 2 weeks.
Well, it's what you do to it. It's not what it does to you, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But I guarantee you the thing that's going to blow it up is that I didn't watch the news before I update, and then I update, and then now I'm at TTY1. What?
Yep.
That's what's going to happen, right? And it won't be anybody's fault but mine. But still, I kind of want to see how long it's gonna last. So
interesting.
I guess to kind of wrap it all up, right? We always end these segments, except for that one time that we forgot to. Whoops.
I'm sure it was only one. Yeah.
Well, I mean, honestly, it was only one because that episode went way too long.
Yeah, it did.
Are you going to keep it? And I mean, obviously, my answer is yeah. I'm going to keep it for as long as once it peters out, then okay, maybe I'll put something else on it. Maybe I'll just reinstall Endeavour. I don't know, but yeah, I'm gonna keep this because I kind of like Arch, and EndeavourOS takes a lot of the guesswork out of. Well, it's not even really guesswork, but it takes a lot of the pain out of setting up a base Arch install. But then once you get it, it's just Arch.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
You know, don't forget to update and don't forget to read the news, and it's Arch. So there you go. What about you?
I don't know if I'm going to keep it or not, but I do like it. Don't get me wrong. It's something I could come back to, and especially if, like, sometimes you want to test something and you want to go, you want to pick an Arch distro to test it in. I could totally picture myself using it for something like that because setup is very easy out of the box. Just a few clicks, right, and you're there. So from that aspect, setting up a new machine and having that available to you has a lot of appeal, I think. I don't generally keep a lot of Arch things going necessarily, but I guess I could.
Not because they blow up, just because.
No, not because they blow up. It's just because most of the time I move on to something else because that's what we do here.
Yeah, well, you should have just been reading the news, Dan. That's why it blew up. Okay.
Yeah. But I do like it. Like, don't get me wrong. Don't read me as like throwing it away, never going back to it again. Had a good experience, but probably won't keep it.
Okay. Yeah. Good experience is right. I had a really good experience with it.
Make sure to get all the great links that we have right on over at linuxuserspace.show.
Yeah, if you forgot to go to YouTube or the Reddit or the Discord or the Telegram or the Matrix or they're all there.
There's more.
Right. So take a second, go there now, and then gather up all the links that you need.
And you can send us an email, contact@linuxuserspace.show. Next up is the first of our focus sessions.
Yeah, we got to focus twice nowadays. What's up with this?
I know. So we're going to focus on one that we've kind of focused on before, but it's been rebranded and retuned, and I don't know. I'm going to say maybe better even.
They have a self-playing piano? I think that's the one thing that
that's
they
what the
may
intro's
not
got.
have.
Yeah.
Ah, see, right.
Now
I'm sold.
I think the branding is definitely improved. So I like it a lot. It's fun. It's very fun. It's a Saturday night, and
those little flip flapper doors. What do you call those? I mean, they're not
the saloon doors, I guess. I'm not sure. Anyway, we're talking about the Linux Saloon.
Ooh.
So Saturday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Head on over to the Linux Saloon, and you can join in the lug. Cubicle Nate, he'll be your host, and he's got a cast of characters that follow along with him too, and they're great. They're great.
Yeah, always. It's always a good time over there. I have not been in.
Yeah, I know. Time gets away from time. I do listen though every week. I really do. It's one of the ones on my list. Haven't made it. I made it to the YouTube chat a few times. But...
Yeah, that's normally where I hang out these days because Saturdays tend to be.
Oh yeah, that's me too.
Like I got it.
We have kids, right? And they're active people.
That's the one.
And they need us to drive them around a lot. So there's that too. So yeah, I get it.
Does take up a lot of time, but I do find myself waiting. Or
in a parking lot someplace, waiting for a sporting event to end or something.
And you know what I do? I go harass people on the YouTube chat. That's exactly how I do it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Same.
But I always enjoy the show. They have News Flight, which is I think by the time this episode comes out, that will have already happened. So they'll have more topics and things like that to talk about. But News Flight is, essentially just going through a lot of what's happening today, this week, this last couple of weeks, and kind of going through a lug. What is your take on this particular happening? Is it good or bad? Yeah, exactly. And they've also taken to doing like app exploration.
Yeah,
so they used to do distro.
Yeah.
See, I forgot what it was called.
Yeah.
The distro explorations, but now we're doing the appetizer. See, express. Okay, all right.
Yep.
The appetizer, right? And so they'll spend a lot of time, like we tend to do with our app focus, looking at apps rather than distros. And that I think can only be a good thing. It is an absolutely good thing to really focus on. Doesn't matter what distro you're on, go get this app because that'll solve a problem for you. And you can Arch, by the way, all you want, but they can run it on Ubuntu 2 and Fedora 2 and everything else in between.
Right, exactly. So
it's good stuff. So if you haven't checked out, if you haven't checked out the Linux Saloon, go wet your whistle at the old dusty Linux Saloon down yonder.
All right, Leo.
Time for the second focus.
Get me focused up.
Okay, all right. We're focusing one more time. And in honor of the terminal-centric distro we just chronicled the history of, we got to talk about a terminal app.
I think so.
There is one meme that will never die in the Linux community, and that is like RMRFing star, right?
Yeah.
Right? You can RMRF root, but if you RMRF root star, like /star,
you should get a warning, but like if you don't, you're gonna have a problem.
Yeah, because it'll just yeet it right out of your disk, man. Just gone. Like, okay, maybe if you pull the plug, put the disk into like a disk recovery software or whatever, and you can probably bring that stuff back. But, give it about 30.5 seconds and like it'll overwrite a lot of that stuff. So,
stop
what we're
using
about,
RM. Stop.
Right. What you need to use is trash. So
exactly.
trash-cli. Go get it. Don't even wait for me to tell you what this is. You already know what this is. Go install trash-cli because RM is tough, man. It'll just throw it right out, and
that's forever.
it's forever. That's a good way to put it. RM is forever. And trash puts it in the trash. Like,
it's
I
still
think
there in the bin, right next to
right?
it's right there.
It's been a little while since I've actually drug anything into the trash icon. I used to do that back in the Windows 98 days. But now it's, right-click, remove, or just hit the delete key, and that's the default behavior. And I think a lot of times when people use RM, they kind of get that same feel, right? Because we're on a desktop 99% of the time.
Sure.
And so, deleting something is just putting it in the trash. And so why didn't RM just put it in the trash? Well, RM was made a long time ago and still behaves the way it was programmed to behave. But enter trash.
And it's the same trash can that you got on your desktop that your desktop environment's using. So it's the same place. We're using the same thing. It's just using the right command.
So if you're a weirdo like me and you're in the CLI and you decide you want to get rid of something and you decide that you want to trash it, and then an hour later you're clicking around, surfing the web, doing some things, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, I do need that.
Right.
You can double click on the trash, and there it is.
Right.
That is just one of the coolest features of that, right? Like, you can launch GUI apps out of the terminal. Why not use the same trash that you're using in the GUI on the command line? It just makes sense.
Makes sense to me. And I think, so here's one of the coolest things I think you can absolutely do with this. Nifty little trick. Say you want to remove everything that's in your trash. Like, you just keep putting it all in your trash, right? And it's kind of filling up, maybe. But say you want to move everything that's like you put in there a week ago or older. And you could just do a trash empty 7 for 7 days. It'll remove everything that's that you put in there 7 days ago and before, and those are gone.
That's amazing.
You can pick a number like of days, and like, and if you really wanted to, trash is very keen on being used in a script or something. So you could set up a cron job or a system D timer, and then like have it set to be like every couple of weeks. It's just going to clean out your trash for you.
That was my first thought. I did not know that it could that it would work that way. I'm not that cool. Well, I am now because I know it. But my first thought was just cron job every night, trash 30. Like, what is it? Trash RM 30? Is that how it?
It's trash empty. Trash empty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trash RM is for individual files. Trash empty is, and then giving it the 30. So do that every night, and then you'll only have the most recent 30 days of trash. Or as you mentioned, 14 days or 7 days. Whatever you're comfortable with. Wow. Okay. I liked Trash CLI before. I like Trash CLI even more now. That's really cool.
I think
like that.
It's super cool. That's one of my favorite things about the whole thing right there. It knows when you manipulated the file and put it in there, so it's keeping tabs on that, and so it can say, yeah, sure, that one's been there for a couple of weeks. We're going to get rid of it now.
Hold on. So you're saying that Trash CLI reads metadata?
Yeah, must be how it works, right? It's amazing.
All right. It's running local. I'm okay with this, right? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
No. I mean, it's like, so you moved it there, so it knows. So that's cool.
That's fantastic. Right. And what better app to have on a terminal-centric distro where, you're going to be deleting stuff. You're going to do that. And this will save you a little bit of heartache when you realize, oops, I didn't actually mean to do. You're going to have to adjust a little of your muscle memory here because RM is so easy to type. But still, I mean, that's just nice.
It's a slick tool.
It's super nice. Very cool.
So there isn't too much to say. I mean, it's pretty simple and powerful, just like Arch and Endeavour. So next time is a topic-based feedback show. So we'll have some feedback items, I'm sure, and some topics. But we also plan to have the next in our editor series. So that should be super exciting. We'll get some history on VI Vim, I think, is the next one that we planned on doing. So
I forgot we were doing that.
Yeah, so you forgot we were doing that, but that's okay. I remembered. It's all good. Like, we planned out like a month and a half here before the show. So
Definitely
it's cool.
Just a one and done thing. After Ed, I thought we were done.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna hit a couple of. We're gonna hit a couple of more. So VI Vim is the plan. They're obviously separate, but they've they're a little bit merged. So we're gonna hit them both together.
Today they're interchangeable when you're just talking about them. I think the M in Vim, obviously stands for improved.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And so it has flavor that VI doesn't have. But
we're gonna meld them together
right,
because we just we only got so many shows.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, we're just trying to we're gonna get it over with.
So we're gonna do those, and that's gonna be fun. And then we'll probably have a feedback topic or two, and maybe even some news things. So that's our next show.
And uncharacteristically not us. Wait, uncharacteristically Leo and Dan. We actually have planned out a few of our distros.
We did.
So, the first of which, drumroll please, Clear Linux.
Yep, we're going to do Clear Linux.
Okay, so all I know about this distro is that it's like fast. All the benchmarks put it faster than everything else. So, Intel started this project.
They did. Yep.
There's a whole thing. We'll tell you about it in a month.
It may be a flop, it may be a hit. We don't know.
We don't know yet, but one thing is for sure, it's kind of fast.
Yeah, well, and we'll get to the history anyway. So stay tuned. Tell us things on Reddit, Twitter, Mastodon, Telegram, Matrix, Discord, whatever. However you do it, join the conversation. All the links in the show notes and on linuxuserspace.show.
So Dan, now that we're saying goodbye, where can we find you in between each episode?
So you can find me at KC2BEZ at mastodon.technology.
Ooh, going with the Mastodon today. Well, in that case, you can find me at Leo Chavez at mastodon.social. Come back in 2 weeks when we return for more Linux User Space. But how is Slackware 16th?
I don't know. Good for them, though.
That's funny. Yeah, I know, right? Get some publicity on that. Oh, Slacks is now based on Slackware again.
They have multiple.
Yeah. Well, after Slack, I guess he just ran out of time. Started doing other stuff, basing it on Debian or Ubuntu. I can't remember. And then
bouncing around waiting for the latest release of something.
Yeah. I guess. And then Slackware came out, and all of a sudden he's got time. So, maybe that was it. Ooh, FreeBSD's number 20. We could do FreeBSD. The history on that would be insane. No, actually.
Jeez.
The history of FreeBSD will probably be just as terrible as Debian. So maybe next season.